Hey everyone, welcome back to the 2023 Virtual March Madness Tournament Simulation here on College Sports Revived. Thanks to the help of NBA 2K23, we've made it through 2 regions so far in the series. We figured out our first 2 Final Four teams, and we'll find out a third today, as well as trek through the West region this episode. Go check the link in the description to view the first 2 episodes if you haven't yet, but here's what we got so far as we take a look at the bracket. The Midwest was fairly cookie cutter last episode, not too many upsets or even close games for that matter. Texas A&M made an impressive Sweet 16 run while Houston cruised their way to a big win over Xavier in the regional finals. Here's hoping we see some classic games in the West today, and considering that this was the hardest bracket according to most experts, anything less than some legendary games would be a disappointment, so let's see if the region lives up to its billing with the 1 seed Kansas and the 16 seed the HBCU Howard Bison kicking it off today. Kansas was a pretty big disappointment for a lot of people. I believe they were the second most popular picked team on ESPN's Bracket Challenge as we get the West underway today, but I had Kansas losing in my bracket to Yukon and the Sweet 16, because historically the repeat champions have not done all that well. Most of the time they don't even make it to the Sweet 16, but the Jayhawks also proved themselves to be a lot better than your normal defending champions with that 17 win quad 1 mark. That's absolutely amazing, and a record this year as they handle Howard here virtually pretty easily, 72-54. But I guess the reason why they fell a little bit short and kind of surprised a lot of us by not making it past the second round was the fact that they had 17 quad 1 wins, sure, as Grady Dick leads them with 18 today, but they also had 7 quad 1 losses too. So perhaps we're looking too much at the wins and not the losses for those quad 1 games, as Elijah Hawkins leads Howard with 17-5. So let's see who's going to take on Kansas in the next round. We got the 8th seed Arkansas Razorbacks and the 9th seed Illinois Fighting Illini. Obviously, Arkansas and Eric Musselman, he's always a guy who does well in March Madness. He's starting to become one of those dudes. And on top of that, with the NBA talent they have this year, Anthony Black and Brazil and all those guys over, there was no surprise honestly that they gave Kansas such a game, and they just managed to outshoot them near the end. But this time around, the Fighting Illini, who lost by 10 in real life, they respond with one of the most lopsided 8-9 games you will ever see. The Fighting Illini take down the Razorbacks by 30 points, and they will have their crack at upsetting Kansas here virtually. So Rogers with 19, Shannon with 17, RJ Melendez had 13, as he was actually the victim of one of the worst technical fouls you'll ever see 2 years ago.
Plummer Melendez! No, absolutely not.
Yeah, it doesn't get much worse than that. The Razorbacks do not replicate what they did in real life, dropping this one by 30. Nick Smith and Anthony Black going to the NBA most likely, but I don't know if you guys have seen, the Razorbacks have reloaded in real life with 4 awesome transfers in the last couple days, including Tremont Mark from Houston. So that's going to be interesting to see next year. Now we got St. Mary's and VCU, the game that I got wrong here in the first round of the West. This was the only one I got wrong. This was a pretty easy bracket to predict, and most people got this one right. I try to think outside the box because I figured St. Mary's with that really efficient offense, VCU turns teams over enough where I thought they could have made it a game and just out grinded them near the end, but obviously I was wrong. They won by 12, and kind of like in real life, they kept it kind of close for a little bit, but VCU just doesn't have enough offense to beat them in real life and in virtual tournament. Logan Johnson was 16 to lead them, and one of my favorite players in the country, Aiden Mahaney, was a near triple-double in this one. So the Gales cruise to a win, and they'll take on the winner of Yukon and Iona. Nick Kern and Watkins both had 19 and 18, but Ace Baldwin, the player of the year in the conference with only 8, I saw he transferred to Penn State with their former coach as well, so that's going to be cool to see. So Yukon, the real-life champions, taking on the Iona Gales. We'll see if Iona can make some adjustments here with obviously Rick Pitino at the helm. You never want to take his teams lightly here in the March Madness tournament. And it looks like they're trying to do what they did in real life. Remember, Iona was actually really close. They were giving them a game. I don't remember the score at halftime, but I believe it was at least within a bucket in real life. And they got this one tied 35 apiece. So once again, the defending champs, or rather the real life champs, trying to replicate that in here in the virtual tournament. They're on the ropes here with 2 minutes to go, only up by 6. In real life, they ended up blowing them out in the second half and winning by 24. But this time around, it's going to take a little bit more work. Yukon off the mark as we hop into our first game action here. Nelly Joseph, one of the better players for the Iona Gales, but their best player is number 1, Walt Clayton. You see him at the right wing. He catches and fires a huge shot to cut the lead in half. Walter Clayton, their best player, and one of the best players in the Metro Conference as well. So 58-55, the Connecticut Huskies controlling the rock with Jordan Hawkins, who made more threes than anybody else in the real life tournaments, and it was not close either. This guy's a deadeye, but he'll try to attack it on Joseph, but great interior defense. No foul, no bucket, so now the Gales have it with a minute 15 to go, down by 3. Joseph again, he makes his way to the elbow. This time another double comes. It's Sanogo trying to provide help. That'll leave another Gales shooter open for 3. 6 unanswered points to tie it up at 58 apiece with 60 seconds left to go. Remember, you never want to take Rick Pitino lightly, as this one's rotated around to Tristan Newton, who tries to beat his man off the dribble. He stopped Alien. Naheem Alien with the ball in his hands, screened by Sanogo, gets inside, kicks it out. Sanogo hit a couple in real life in the final 4, but this one doesn't drop. Another empty possession for the Huskies. In real life, we saw just how balanced this Yukon offense was, but they can't buy a bucket here in the virtual tournament. Meanwhile, Nelly Joseph puts the Gales up by 2. Oh my goodness. 8 straight points for Iona as we check in here, and already we're seeing an instant classic. The real life champs trying to replicate that here in the virtual tournament. They're on the ropes here with 30 seconds to go. The Gales giving them all they can handle. Tristan Newton with the screen, fades to his left. It rims out, and it's pulled down by Walter Clayton, who somehow secures the rebound over Sanogo, the real life most outstanding player in the Final 4. Nelly Joseph to the line now. He's done it all and then some here for Iona. He's passed, he's scored inside, and now he's going to try to make some big free throws here. The second one is off. This time Sanogo does grab the board. So Hawkins and his boys down by 3. 13 seconds to go. Hawkins spin move. Another spin move. Gets inside to the block. He's trapped. Kick out. Alien for the tie. The southpaw hits it. With 5 seconds to go, UConn ties it up at 61. Wow, to save. UConn's run. Naheem Alien moves nicely without the ball and swishes it. Like I said, Yukon is just so balanced. As we take a look at the replay, he did get that toe just behind that 3-point line. We'll head into overtime to see if Iona can hold on and stop these Huskies before another run gets started. Here we go. We're gonna go at a walking pace here in overtime. If it gets close, I'm hopping in, but Yukon makes the first 7 points, and from then on out, they control the extra period of play. So really valiant effort by Iona. I mean, there's nothing to hang your head about in this one if you're on that side of the benches, but Yukon does hold on 78-66. So Rick Pitino's tenure ends at Iona after a hard-fought loss as he's going to St. John's next year. But like I said, a lot to be proud of today. Yukon with 4 players in double digits. They didn't even need Jordan Hawkins, their top 3-point maker in real life, to have all that good of a game. But unfortunately, Walt Clayton, only 2 for 7 shooting. It's kind of what did him in tonight. So Yukon will move on and play St. Mary's and rematch in real life. So the virtual bracket 3 for 4 as we're halfway through the first round. Now we got TCU and Arizona State as the Sun Devils destroyed Nevada in the playing game in real life and gave TCU a really good run for their money. It was one of the better games of the first round, but when you got a guy like Mike Miles on TCU's side of things, those koozie finalists and those top point guards in the country, they can make all the difference. As look at this, plenty of points in this one. This one was just a shootout in the first round, but unfortunately TCU didn't have the offense down the stretch to hang with the Sun Devils, 89-78. So TCU, they found themselves in two of the better games in real life, between Arizona State beating them by 2 and then almost coming back and beating Gonzaga in the round of 32. They found themselves in some awesome games, but here virtually they dropped the first round game to the Sun Devils. We saw Washington and Marcus Bagley, the younger brother of Marvin, both have 20 apiece, with Mike Miles dropping a double-double en route to another pretty competitive game, but they dropped this one by 11. So Arizona State, they move on and will play the winner of Gonzaga and Grand Canyon, the Antelopes. Now, for you guys who have been around and have watched the 2021 version of this, the last time I did the virtual March Madness tournament sim, Grand Canyon actually shocked a lot of people. They committed probably the biggest upset of that entire virtual run, or that virtual tournament. They beat Iowa, who was a 2 seed that year in the first round, as a 15 seed, and now they're looking to replicate that here, up by a bucket on Gonzaga, who's had their fair share of success in March, still with that Sweet 16 run intact. I believe it's been 7 years in a row now running where they've made at least the Sweet 16. That will continue after the Antelopes give them a game for a while, but then Gonzaga closes it down near the end and win by 13. So it'll be Gonzaga against Arizona State in the next round. Malachi Smith with 25, Drew Timme, not as explosive as an offensive day as we saw in real life most of the time from him in the tournament. But look at this, Julian Strother and Anton Watson, 2 of the better players for Gonzaga, neither got on the scoreboard. And leading the way for the Antelopes was Gabe McLaughlin with 11 and Rayshawn Harrison with 10. So unfortunately, Grand Canyon couldn't replicate what they did in the 2021 virtual tournament, but still a pretty good game nonetheless. So now we talked about Gonzaga and Grand Canyon having their fair successes in the March Madness tournament, some in real life, some virtually. But Northwestern and Boise State, 2 teams that are very new to the March Madness tournament, they'll take on each other here in the next round. Northwestern got their first win in school history just a couple years ago, as Boise State found themselves up by 3 at halftime. But Boise State, I believe they're 0-5 in real life. I think the loss this year made it 0-6 in the all-time in the tournament. So they're still searching for their first win ever in school history, but they got a chance to at least get it virtually. Pretty good consolation prize if you ask me. They're up by 1 with 2 minutes to go. Ty Berry wants the lead, but it's off the mark. You got to keep an eye out for Northwestern's guard play. Inside though, dunking it down is Chibozo Agbo, who's got 14 as the top player for the Broncos so far this game. That's a great find there by Tyson Denegar to Chibozo Agbo, who punches it down with the right hand. These guys know what's on the line. Obviously, I know what it's like. You know, if you've seen my series on College Hoops 2K8, it's definitely a tough feeling to be so close to that first ever March Madness win. We've done it for UT Martin, and then we almost did it for Fordham. And unfortunately, we lost in triple overtime, so I know how it feels to have that first win so close to you. We'll see if the Broncos can do it here in the virtual tournament. This is a 3 that's knocked down, and that'll extend it to 6. And you got to be feeling pretty good about this one if you're Boise State, and they do hold on. Max Rice dribbles the clock out after that game-sealing 3, and the Broncos get it done here virtually for their first win ever in school history in March, 60-52. They send Northwestern and their 2 good guards home a little bit earlier than real life, as Northwestern actually gave UCLA a game in the second round in real life. We'll see if Boise State can replicate that. Agbo was 16-5 to lead Boise State side of things, and all scorers, I might add, with Chase Augie with 14 to lead Northwestern. But take a look at this. Ty Berry and Boo Buie, 2 of the more fun to watch guards in the country. Neither of them had that good of a game here. UCLA and UNC Asheville. This will close out the first round of action. Obviously, I talked about it a little bit so far this series. I turned off injuries. All the guys that have injuries in real life, such as Zach Fremantle and Xavier, guys who missed the tournament, they are playing in this one. And another good example of that would be Jalen Clark on UCLA, who missed the tournament. He's going to be playing in this, so they're fully healthy, but it's not really helping them too much. UNC Asheville, the Bulldogs from the Big South Conference, they are right in it with under 2 minutes to go. In fact, they're only down by a bucket with the ball, with 1:42 left on the clock, and their top player, Drew Pember, from the baseline, steps it back from the baseline. No, can't get it to drop. Here we go with Amari Bailey. He was the freshman, former 5-star recruit who had a big tournament in the absence of Jalen Clark. Here he is coming off a screen, trying to make it 6, and he does. 6-point game with a minute 20 to go. A lot of ground to make up and not so much time. But we'll see Drew Pember, who averaged, I believe, like 22 and 8. This is one of the sneakier guys in the country in terms of stats. He had a great season for UNC Asheville, and he would make 1 here at the free throw line. So perhaps UCLA can close these things out here. With a bucket, it would make it 3 possessions. Jalen Clark over to his right, another moving 3, but UCLA finally starting to get their shots dropping here down the stretch. This will make it 8 with a minute to go, and Asheville drops this one by 7. A lot more of a fight than in real life, where they lost by 33 points. But nonetheless, Amari Bailey was 16 to lead all for the Bruins, and Jalen Clark in his tournament debut, which he didn't get to play in real life, 10 and 7, not bad, not bad. Tiger with 7 assists, and Jaime Jaquez, the Pac-12 Player of the Year with a near triple-double. Drew Pember only 3 of 11 in this one, with Tyon Jones leading the pace with 22 and only missed 2 shots. So now we're on to the round of 32. Kansas trying to make it past this round here in the virtual tournament. Let's see if they can do it again. This time it's going to be Illinois, who completely blew out Arkansas in the virtual tournament by 30. One of the more lopsided 8-9 games you'll ever see. And this one, though, they're giving Kansas a lot here, but then a 13-4 run separates themselves from the competition, and from here on out it was all Jayhawks. I forgot to hop in there at the end, but as you can see, 66-45 is your final. Kansas holds the Illini to only 33% shooting on the game. And look at this team effort, dominating the glass, sharing the ball, making threes. Kansas is just so tough just because of how versatile they are, and they have 4 guys that could really go off on a nightly basis. And here we go with Illinois. I did like their team this year. They got really good guards, along with Matt Mayer, who was on that Baylor National Championship game 2 years ago. But they fall short here in the second round, so at least they won one this time. Now we got Yukon and St. Mary's, as St. Mary's, in terms of point spread, was actually the closest out of any team to Yukon in real life, 70-55. So they only lost by 15. That shows you how dominant Yukon was in the the entire tournament. But here in virtually, they are down by 30 at the half. The Gales blowing out the Huskies. We saw Yukon have some trouble and not look all that sharp against Iona, and that would continue here, just not coming to play against the Gales. 78-54. This time it's Yukon on the wrong side of a blowout. So St. Mary's College will move on to the Sweet 16 to take on the Kansas Jayhawks. What a game, and what a shocking way to continue in this tournament. Augustus Marcelonis with 15 off the bench, 4 guys in double figures. You just don't get much cleaner of an offensive game than this, and it's cool to see the virtual tournament really showing just how efficient the Gales offense was in real life this year. I think they were number 1 in the country in offensive rating. Sonogo with a 17-12 night, but unfortunately he can't get back to the Final Four to try to become the most outstanding player here in the virtual tournament. So now we move down to the bottom half. We got Gonzaga and Arizona State, the 3 versus 11 game. And in this one, Gonzaga was in a stalemate with TCU. We'll see if they can beat Arizona State a little bit easier. They're up by 10 at the half, thanks to a 29-14 run there near the end of the first half of action. But then it's another run. This time it's Arizona State getting back into it. A lot of offense all the way through this game, but here in the final couple minutes, It's starting to become a defensive gridlock. 56-54, Gonzaga with a 2-point lead. Anton Watson, who had a 0-point game in the first round, along with Julian Strother. They're both trying to turn it around here, kicking it out to Drew Timme. He can make one every once in a while. No good, but Julian Strother there with the right place at the right time. Rebound, puts it back up and in. Nicely done there, Strother. So that'll put Gonzaga up by 4. You would miss the free throw, but Arizona State gets the ball back and pushes the tempo here. This is the best time to run in basketball. Off a missed free throw. It's Cambridge getting to the rim, but he leaves it short. So Arizona State, who's been awesome on offense through the first game and some change, this is where they're starting to finally show some cracks. Malachi Smith makes a clean step back jumper, man. That was beautiful. Again, they come up short on another possession. The Sun Devils have been such a fun offense so far in this one. And here we go. They finally get a stop. DJ Horn comes the other way. This is to salvage their season. Stepping up for 3. It's too long. Drew Timme grabs the game-sealing rebound. And the Gonzaga Bulldogs will keep that Sweet 16 stretch intact. They win yet another game and will reach yet another Sweet 16 under Mark Few. Once again, Malachi Smith leading the way with 13. Hickman with 13. Strother and Watson both shut out in the first game, both with 9 in this one, as Timme with 10 rebounds and 3 blocks. So the Sun Devils come up short, and Gonzaga will be facing either UCLA or Boise State in the Sweet 16 next game. This one was pretty close in real life. UCLA was up pretty big in the first half on Northwestern, but then they came storming back and only won by 5. UCLA did. So Boise State, though, trying to replicate that. Look at this. 6-point halftime lead for Boise State. They are not happy just to be here. They won their first tournament game, and they're trying to win some more as well. 1:52 to go, 1-point game. As we check into yet another one, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of experts have the West as the best region, and I think it's starting to come to fruition here in the virtual tournament as well, as we see Boise State's hero last game, Chibozo Agbo, at the line. He's having a good one in this one as well. And yeah, it's good to finally see some great games again after the disappointment last episode with the Midwest. There was a lot of blowouts and not a lot of upsets. I think it's finally time to get back to what March Madness is all about here, as Jalen Clark tries to cut into this lead. He tries to knife his way into the paint, but it's stolen off the kick out. Marcus Shaver, coast to coast. It's Boise State up by 3 now. 1:14 left in the game. UCLA and Mick Cronin with their backs up against the wall. Tiger Campbell, who's been in the spot before. Great pass inside. Adam Bona misses the layup, though. It was a great setup by Tiger, but Agbo, who's been a dangerous man in this tournament, gives it away right back. Oh no, here comes Tiger. UCLA plays hot potato with the ball in the paint. Jalen Clark tries to make some room, but he resets it to Bona on the baseline. He gives it to Jalen Clark. Another dangerous pass by the Bruins. 4 to shoot. Clark's got to try to salvage his possession, and with a kiss off the glass, he scores with the offhand. 63-60, 34 ticks left. UCLA, because this game has bad AI, waits like 10 seconds and then decides to foul. So with 24 seconds to go, it's going to be 2 shots for Chibozo Agbo, who misses the front end. So still a 4-point game. Agbo, who's been a hero for the Broncos all tournament long, at least gets 1. And Cronin burns a timeout with 24 seconds on the clock. So that at least gets it up to a 5-point cushion for Boise State. Jalen Clark's the inbounder. We'll see what they got under the hood. This offense is so tough to guard. They got so many options. Tiger Campbell off the inbound. He pump fakes as Jalen Clark steps it back and hits the 3. UCLA's 3-point shooting in the tournament has been on point. No doubt about that. As Degenhart gets it into Marcus Shaver, who had that steal, that huge steal moments ago. We'll see if he can continue to be a pivotal player here down the stretch with 2 of the biggest free throws of his life here. The first one tickles the twine. 67-64, 16 seconds left. with the shot at the Sweet 16 on the line. The second one rims out. Rebound, Yaquez. It's Jalen Clark with 10 to go. Tiger Campbell for 3. UCLA ties it up with 8.4 to go. The clutch shooting of the Bruins continues to be one of the crazier stories here in this episode. But there's still plenty of time for the Broncos. 8.4 to go. Inbound, Agbo, 6, 5, 4. Tries to take it on Bona. Steps to his left. Jumper to win. He's fouled by Jaime Jaquez. Oh my goodness. Take a look at the replay. Was this a foul? Agbo makes room with his dribble, pulls up from 10 feet, and Jaquez maybe got a little piece of his arm, but I think they called it because he didn't let him land. You gotta let the shooter land or else they will call you for that. Agbo goes to the line with a chance to be the hero once again. I think we're discovering one of the craziest storylines of this series. Chibozo Agbo with a chance to win yet another game for the Broncos. The free throw is up. And it's good. The Broncos up by 1 with the Sweet 16 within their grasp. Agbo gets the ball for number 2. 1.3 ticks left. He misses. Adam Bona from full court. It's off. It's off the front rim. The Broncos win game number 2 and will move on to the Sweet 16, where a trip with the Gonzaga Bulldogs awaits them. Chibozo Agbo, a 6'7" junior from San Diego, who once again puts his team on his back and delivers at the end of a game. It's actually Najee Smith who's the best player in real life, but Chibozo Agbo, who averages 11 and 5 in real life on the year, he's the one who's making a name for himself here down the stretch of the Broncos virtual tournament simulation. And they'll be facing Gonzaga as we move on to the Sweet 16, a trip to the regional final on the round, with the first game being Kansas or St. Mary's. They'll be playing in the regional final moments from now. Let's hop into it with the Jayhawks not really having much of a fight from their first 2 opponents. Here though, the Gales cruising, and as we head into the locker rooms, the Gales are up by 3. They're fresh off of a blowout against Yukon, and we'll see if they can continue to shock us with an upset here, but it doesn't look like that's going to be in the cards. Come on, you just need a little bit of offense down the stretch. Come on, St. Mary's. I'm trying to hop in and watch some basketball. 1:20 to go. It's an 11-point game, and unfortunately Kansas would just not let the Gales back into it. Suffocating defense down the stretch was all it took. 77-60. St. Mary's gives them a fight in the first half, but then the Jayhawks just run them off the floor here in the final couple minutes, thanks to a huge run to close this one out. So it'll be Kansas making their way to the Elite Eights. DeJuan Harris, a really crafty point guard who I think was one of the top assist guys in the country this year. He's a St. Louis kid, I believe. He had 21 in this one, with Jalen Wilson scoring 20. This is pretty uncharted territory for most repeat champions, as Aiden Mahaney led the Gales with 16. But yeah, historically, repeat champions have not done well ever since Florida went back-to-back in the 2000s. So Kansas, they make it to the regional finals and will play one of these 2 teams, the 3 seed Gonzaga or the 10 seed Boise State. I know who I'm rooting for in this one, but we'll see if Agbo can compete with the talented defensive forwards such as Julian Strother and Anton Watson here with Gonzaga. So they find themselves down by 9 at the half. If they still have a chance here, they claw and scrap their way in. Come on, Boise State. They're only down by 3 with 2.5 to go. Let's hop in and cheer on this Cinderella, the Broncos. Just a couple moments ago, they had never even won an NCAA tournament game, and now they got a chance to make the Elite Eights. Gotta love Marsh, man. 2 minutes to go. Max Rice looking for the tie, but then he'll kick it up to the top of the key. It was a decent look, but I think they bit off a little bit more they could chew there. Not the best decision there. Instead, Drew Timme will find Anton Watson as the cutter. Nicely done there, Timme, with really good vision from that high post area. It's one of the many things he's known for. 1:42 to go. Look at this. Look at who keeping the ball in the hands of. It's Chibuzo Agbo who turns it over. Facing a double team of Julian Strawther and Drew Timme. He can't handle the pressure, so it's back to Gonzaga. Malachi Smith for three. It rims out. He's actually been the top scorer for Gonzaga in the first 2 games for the Bulldogs. So a pretty good chance he gets on the all-region team. Marcus Shaver inside. Agbo with the dunk. I was waiting for him to make his mark, as he and the Broncos are shooting 63% as a team and here in the second half to fight their way back into this one. So now we'll take it down under a minute, 37 seconds to go. Agbo not having the big game that he's had in the first 2. I believe that's only points 5 and 6 for him if I remember correctly, but still though, the Broncos still within a basket, 32 seconds to go. It's a 12-second difference between the 2 game clocks. Malachi Smith for 3, he'll try it again! And 2 times the charm for the Gonzaga point guard. I think this will mark the end of Boise State's historic run as one of the legends on this channel. Great screen by Drew Timme, and it was good as gold right out of the hand, you could tell. So, coming up a little bit short is Boise State, 72-65. It'll be Gonzaga going up against the Kansas Jayhawks in the regional final. Man, wanted to see Boise State somehow find a way, but unfortunately, just not enough gas in the tank here. 16 for Anton Watson, 12 for Malachi Smith, and this time this is probably the best team game we've seen the Gonzaga Bulldogs play. Everyone getting involved there on offense. And for the Boise State Broncos, Max Rice had 18, and like I said, Chibuzo Agbo was actually only points 3 and 4 for him on the dunk, so he struggled there at the end a little bit, but that shouldn't take any away from his and his team's run. He'll probably still make his way on the all-region team. Chibuzo Agbo, man, hats off to you. So now we've reached the regional final of the West region. It's been a fun one, but it all has led up to the 1 seed Kansas and the 3 seed Gonzaga fighting for a chance to play in the Final Four, and whoever wins this game will be taking on the Houston Cougars in the Final Four whenever we make it to the Final Four finale episode of this series. So here we go. We tip it off, and both offenses get off to a pretty cold start, but then eventually Kansas was up by as much as 18 at one point. Gonzaga gets at least close to single digits here at the half, 34-23, but really rough start for the Bulldogs. We'll see if they can turn things around and get back to the Final Four like they did in the 2021 version of this tournament. Up down by 13 with just a couple minutes to go. Gonzaga down with the season in the balance. They just didn't have enough here at the end. And once again, Kansas just somehow on cruise control. They'll make it back to the Final Four in search of defending title, and they'll try to go back to back here via the virtual tournament. Kansas, the 1 seed, is the winner of the West region, and we'll take on the 1 seed from the Midwest in the Final Four next time out, or rather the Final Four finale whenever we get there. We still got 1 more region to go, but that is how this one wraps up. The regional final game, a little bit of a blowout, but at least it was a very fun episode all the way through, with DeJuan Harris again being the Jayhawks' leading scorer. He was primarily a passer and finisher in real life this season, and a really fun one to watch at that, but he's taken the keys of the offense and become the main scorer here virtually. And with all the weapons these guys got already on offense, you put in DeJuan Harris putting up 20 points, you can say goodnight. Antoine Watson with 19 in the loss. So here's how the bracket looks through the first 3 episodes. We only got 1 more region to go in this one, which we'll be knocking out next time, and then we'll be having our Final Four finale. So 2 more episodes to go here in the virtual March Madness tournament simulation here on my channel. So we saw some really good games in this one. Boise State with a memorable fight to the Sweet 16 as well, and Yukon goes down in the round of 32. So no real life champions repeating in this one, but here's your all region team. We have DeJuan Harris, who's one of the best passers in the country in real life, but he became one of the top scorers in the virtual bracket here in this video. Aiden Mahaney from St. Mary's College, a dual threat guard. Malachi Smith, who hit some big shots for Gonzaga in that Elite 8 run of theirs. Chibozo Agbo, couldn't keep him off this list. He captured the hearts of the viewers in this one. What a story for him and his Boise State teammates making it to the Sweet 16. And then Adama Sanogo, unfortunately no Final Four most outstanding player, but he'll have to settle for all region after making it to the round of 32 and averaging a double-double in those 2 games for UConn. So that'll wrap it up for today, guys. Got 3 regions down, 1 to go, with that East region coming next time out. And of course, Purdue as a top seed trying to not rewrite history against Fairleigh Dickinson. So we'll see what's in store for us. Got that episode, and we got the Final Four finale coming up soon. It's been a lot of fun. Hope it gets even more fun, man. It's been a great time in this one. I'm College Sports Survived. I'm signing out, and I'll be bringing you guys the East region next time you see me. So have a great night, and I hope you stay tuned. See you then, everybody. Peace.